So, welcome to meditation number 2. It's a Sunday meditation for you and with us. And together we're going to try and do something together, which is really hard to do on your own. Namely, sit down and just take time for yourself
Be with yourself.
to reflect, to be with yourself, to contemplate, to allow things to come up and to drop things that you don't need. That's meditation in a nutshell. Yoga. The tradition of yoga doesn't really talk that much about meditation. We find that more in Buddhism. So as I mentioned before, if I do any techniques, they're going to be more Buddhist techniques, really. We find in the Upanishads a little bit of contemplation. We find in the Yoga Sutras the idea of focus on one point, but we don't really find much technique. The Buddhists really took that ball and ran with it. Anyway, today I was thinking, what shall I do on the second time that we've met together? And it seems to me the obvious thing to contemplate is, what does it mean to practice? What does it mean to practice meditation? How do we need to approach it? And anything that you practice regularly, the idea is that you're coming out of a normal space, the normal space of distraction and, let's say, thinking of things to do. In other words, becoming something in the future and dispatching things that you've had to do from the past. So you're always in process, doing what you've had to do due to past actions and becoming something else due to hoped for desires in future actions. So you're never with yourself in being. So you always feel you're not really at home, really, or at least, a lot of the time you feel that you're somewhat away from yourself. And I think that's a great deal of the problem. And hence we don't find a way to stop that unless we consciously do that, to come back to being, to contemplate ourselves in the space of action-free time is really, really hard. And that means practice. That means coming back out of normal action to practice action, which is a ritual, really. It's creating a ritual around meditation. And I think one of the easiest ways is to simplify this then of having an effective and feeling productive in this space is to set the scene, to make a ritual around it, albeit having a cup of tea beforehand, or dimming certain lights, or putting on certain candle if we're allowed to use burn candles anymore, or incense if we're allowed. We're definitely not allowed to burn incense, or anything that sets the scene, because you have to get yourself into the space. Yeah, you have to find a way to demarcate this space as special, significant, and other than normal life based on becoming action. Is it going, if you think about yourself, we're always becoming, and then we've got being. We've just got our beingness, and then we've got our projections of what we want to be or have to be, and then we've just got being. And it's an unusual space to inhabit, and I think we don't have much familiarity of being in that space with ourselves. So it's frightening, it's unfamiliar, it's strange, and we just won't let ourselves be in that space. So to make some designations around it, to somehow fence off that time and space, creates little ritual actions, practice actions to get yourself in the right frame of mind and get yourself in the right headspace to do that, to gradually unpick yourself from the obvious. So if you're sitting there in a clutter, surrounded by things that need to be done, get up and do those things before you start. Yeah. So you're not distracted by the things that you...
Yeah, but they're never going to start.
Well, I mean, just in basic terms, or if you've got a phone there, probably just put that away for, just in another room, maybe, if you're likely to look at it or be distracted by pings or anything like that. Anything that might distract you, and do it in the same place if you can. If you can do the meditation in the same place, somehow being in that ritual space defined by familiarity makes you stronger, makes you more committed to doing so, yeah? Maybe put something in front of you that gives you a focal point, that gives you that kind of reference point to go into this unusual space with yourself, because it's not immediately wanted. As much as we want to return back to ourselves, we're frightened of it and we're unfamiliar with it, and we don't know what we'll find there. And the less we are with ourselves, the more frightening it becomes. So as we want it or we don't want it, we have an ambiguity towards it, really. I think we know we need it, but we're frightened of being there at the same time. So find that ritual space, set it up, and ultimately what I want to say is define or give some reason why you're there. Yep. The main part of developing this is find your intention, because you may say, I'm going to meditate, I know I need to do it, and you sit there, but you haven't really committed to it. Without being too heavy, find your intention. Look, I mean, whatever that is, if it's the intention to be better, you feel like you're not your best self, if it's the intention to help in your little way with the suffering in the world by doing this, think about that for a moment without dwelling on it too much. But set your intention isn't a corny phrase. It's a real life feeling in your body. You've got to think about why. You've got to really want to do it. Because when you really want to do it, it's easy. But when you're knowing that you should do it and sitting there because you feel, oh, I've done my meditation, it's done, that I feel kind of good about it. But, that's not really it. That's not really doing much, I think. But if you set that intention, you really know that you need to do this. You know that there's nothing in the world in the end that's going to make you happy, that it comes from inside. You know that you can't do anything about most people's suffering, but this is the one thing you can do about it. Feel your intention. Spend a moment to recognize why you're doing this. If you can build that inside you, that strength of commitment, the rest is done for you. It's all done for you through the developing of that intent, really recognizing why you're doing this. Not in a glib kind of regurgitated, oh, I know meditation's good, it's good to be aware, blah, blah, blah. But in a real way, this is serious in a certain sense. This is your one chance at developing a greater happiness inside yourself. And I do believe somehow it feeds out to the greater good as well. So it's the one thing generally that we can really do as well to do our bit, as much as it sounds futile, for all the suffering that we're seeing all the time out there now. So really try and take a moment before you start to focus that in your body, in your heart, wherever you feel it, in your stomach, to focus that intent that you're fed up, you're annoyed, you really want to do it now, not messing around anymore, not just sitting there daydreaming. This is real, this is serious. You've only got one opportunity to start. If you make that kind of determination, as I say, the rest will go nicely because the mind is willing to go where you want it to go. It's just a question of where you really want it to go. So if you don't really want it to go here, it won't go there that much. If you really want it to go, it will go where you want it to go. So, that said, we've set our intention. I'm going to do 10 minutes of just resting in that space again. I think we'll talk about developing a ritual in further meditation Sundays, but I think last week I said just rest in the space of just feeling your mind, but it's very ambiguous. So today I think we'll do the most obvious, which is just when you find that your mind is wandering out of your attention span, just bring it back to the breath. You might feel the breath on the nose, you might feel the breath in the rise and fall of the chest, back of the throat, wherever you feel the breath, wherever you want to focus that breath, not overtly focusing on the breath, but when you feel that you've wandered, and it might be some minutes, so don't blame yourself, it might be 5 minutes, bring it back. Yeah, that's all. But as I say, before you do this, the quality of the meditation is actually set before it, is not during it. If you can set your intention, if you can set your ritual space, you can set that and make that solid. The rest is almost a fait accompli, as they say, will come for you. Yeah. So, anything to add? Been rambling along for
No,
9 minutes,
well,
so
I think you've said a lot.
I've said
Good.
enough. I've
Yeah.
said
I mean,
enough.
I just think the thing is, it is like, I mean, if we have a lot of Ashtanga followers, people watching with regular daily practice, it is somewhat easier, you find, to get on your mat doing something physical for 90 minutes than to sit for 10 minutes. I mean, I definitely do. That's
Yeah,
all my life.
because it's
So,
dynamic and moving, and this is not, I think.
yeah, it's
Because you're losing yourself in the movement, really, in a certain sense,
mm,
back into the distraction with the becoming action, and just coming back to yourself without any kind of thing there. That is just so unfamiliar for us, I think. But I think, Teresa certainly particularly recognizes the need to do it. I've dabbled for many years off and on with periods of meditation. And yeah, I haven't committed to that like I have yoga practice either. So I have to put my hand on my heart there and say, yeah, it is much easier to do something dynamic than something
yeah. Also, I
just,
think with yoga, the thing is you can see what you're doing
And
somewhat right or wrong, like, oh, that
social
person
aspect,
looks
you're
like that.
in a
Yeah.
group, they're in a group, you've got some
Yeah.
structure around
Whereas
you being in a group.
meditation, I think a lot of times you're just like, am I doing it
Yeah. I
right?
think that's why they always, in the Buddhism, they say that, you've got to take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma. So the motivation that the Buddha, that is possible, the Dharma, in as much as there is a way, there's a teaching that works, and the Sangha, the community around it. They always stress that it's the importance of having a framework of community around you to kind of, like with the Ashtanga for many years, I think that for good or for bad, it was a kind of group that did give you a sense of belonging, that there were loads of people doing it with you. And that kind of, that used to help me early in the mornings, thinking, oh, there's other people, other teachers now practicing before they take the class. And I'm in this group, which gives you some sense of strength, I think. And that's what we're doing here, really. I think it's just, although, albeit not live with you, just say, okay, we're doing it on the Sunday. We are recording this every Sunday, and you're there on the Sunday doing it with us. And so essentially, like we are kind of having this strangely formatted group community meditation, albeit by proxy. All right, let's make a start. So I got my timer again. I mean, we said that we were going to keep it real, and no symbols or bells, just the old iPhone.
We should
Maybe we should get a
symbols,
bell or
yeah.
symbol or something.
Yeah.
Trees will be
I
nice
like
with
those
them. She would
things.
look good in them. Right. Well, with them. Okay, let's make a start. So I think you just sit up straight. The one thing that is said in the Bhagavad Gita in the terms of meditation is that, breathe evenly and keep your spine erect, which is telling, because I think when the spine isn't straight, the energy just doesn't flow properly. Your head stops being lucid and clear. So there is something about keeping a kind of, it doesn't have to be poker straight spine, but a sense of levity with your spine. If it doesn't feel good, then put a little cushion behind your back. Sit on a sofa like we are, so you can keep upright, so you can sit straight. Okay, let's go for it. 10 minutes, and we're starting from now. No, we're not. Yes, okay, let's start from now. Huh. That's different every time. I think one thing I was trying to remember to mention is that if you feel sleepy, don't completely close your eyes. You're meant to like almost close your eyes. You can still see some light, like half lid them. If you
Mm.
completely close your eyes, you can sometimes, because what the mind will do is after excitement, after running around, yeah, because it's used to doing that, it'll do its other thing, which is go into like a torpor state, like it'll shut down and go into sleeping or get very tired and lethargic. So you'll go to sleep. So you're going to go between those two states all the time because that's what the mind does in normal life, you know. And we're trying to avoid, or, you know, when we're more productive, we are in that state of lucidity, which is not excited, but not, let's say, sleepy or dumbed down. Yeah. But oftentimes we find ourselves ricocheting between the two. And that's certainly the case in meditation. Whereas I think last week, I felt my mind was running around. And this time I felt the opposite. I was more inclined towards the sleepy side of things. What about you?
Yeah, that is a good point because it's like you can even sort of just leave your eyes open, right? Like,
You could leave your eyes open, but that would probably distract you a lot.
mm,
So so you gotta like always half lid them, so you're like looking to the kind of like unfocused towards the. You can't see light, but that keeps you kind of awake. Yeah,
that's a good point.
you could sit on something prickly. But I think start off like short, and then what we're trying to do is kind of gradually build this up into obviously a daily basis, a regular basis. So let us know in the comments as well how you're finding it, and because as much as we want to support you, it's nice also to have that interaction and feel that we're maybe doing something together here.
Mm. And
If-
what you want, yeah, any
yeah,
questions or what you'd like
uh,
to
I
see.
think what I mentioned last week that we can offer is not, you know, a kind of meditation guru. I am not, but just, you know, I've had experience in this field, and I'm trying to do it in an honest way without particularly offering myself up as a teacher of this, well, at all. As a teacher of this modality of this thing called meditation. So kind of learning together, but I do have some resources to pull in and can talk about other things. But after all, it is based on a practice. And if you're doing yoga already, which you probably are, then you have a practice and you know what it is to practice, and you set yourself up in certain ways, put clothes on, put your mat down in certain ways, make the ritual of practice work for you. So just apply these ideas to the ritual of meditation. It's a shoe-in, or it should be.
I mean, I'm trying to do at the minute or currently 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening.
Yeah.
And
That's quite a kind of lot, really. Maybe you start with just a
is
10
it,
minutes
yeah,
in one,
once a
yeah.
day? Yeah.
Yeah, same time and place really helps just to set up that ritual space to get into that different kind of space. Yeah, but once a day is a good start, I think. Just
Mm.
biting off chunks that don't seem too much and can be kept up, I think is the first thing. Anyway, let's see how we go this week, and we'll join you for another week. So let us know in the comments where you want me to go with this, or whether you, yeah, whether you want Teresa to lead it, and because I'm sure you could, and yeah, we'll enjoy seeing you again next week. So have a good week, and
Okay.
we'll see you soon.